Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. This is what I'm going to share with you guys. It's really not a penitentiary story, but these are things that led me into the penitentiary. So, I got out in '98, right, after doing 28 months for possession of an unregistered firearm by a restricted person. And it was my first offense, whatever. I went to FCI Florence. After I got FCI Florence, they had me in immigration in Aurora, Colorado, right? So I spent about 3 months in Aurora, Colorado. You know, when I got there, there was already Asian dudes that were serving, that already served their time, and they were there for like 2 years, 3 years already. So when I come through, you know, I'm fighting my immigration, and they appointed me an attorney. And this lady, we sat down, and she looked over my case, and she was telling me like, well, I mean, the only thing we can hope for is if Bill Clinton changed the law. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you know, as far as I can see, you're probably gonna get deported. But at the time, Cambodia wasn't accepting any deportees. So you're stuck. If your country doesn't take you back, you're stuck. That's like the Cubans. All the Cubans that was arrested in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, or whatever, they were stuck. Some of them had like a 2-year sentence. And I ran into a few that already been down 15, 20 years. And I'm like, damn. It's like, what did you do? He's like, oh, I got domestic violence or whatever. They gave me a year in jail. I said, okay, how long you been down? He's like, oh, I've been down 15 years. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you know, we can't get deported back to Cuba, and the United States don't want us back out in the streets, so we're stuck. And that led to, I think it was 1995, the Atlanta riot, when the Cubans bucked, because, you know, there's a lot of them there that their time's been up 5, 10, 15, 20 years already, but they still stuck in the penitentiary because they can't get deported back to Cuba. So Cambodian were the same situation, you know. So when I got the INS, you know, I think that was the first time, you know, my short career, that I was really like concerned about being locked up, because when I got sentenced to the penitentiary, I wasn't tripping, right? 28 months, do my time, come home. So when on the day that I was getting released, they call, you know, I go out, they dress me out, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I'm getting back to the streets, right? So after I get done dressing out, a guy walks in. He's like, turn around. I was like, for what? He goes, I gotta put these shackles and belly chain on you. And, you know, this is my first time being locked up as far as like the prison system goes. So, you know, I'm just looking at him like, well, is this how you guys take people to the bus, right? And he's like, you're not going to the bus stop, you know. I was like, what do you mean I'm not going to the bus stop? I'm getting released today. And he's like, nah, you're going immigration. And I'm like, what the fuck is immigration? You know, I know INS, I know immigration, I know the word, but it hasn't really computed in my mind that what immigration was, right? So I get in a van. It was just him and me. They drove me from Florence to Aurora and booked me into immigration. And like I said, after the conversation I had with my attorney, I was concerned. You know, I got on the phone, called my dad. I was like, man, look, they said I'm gonna be stuck in here until Bill Clinton changed the law. So could you guys give me a lawyer? And They ended up getting me a lawyer. My lawyer was Sharon Preston. You know, about 3 weeks later, after we contacted the lawyer, after I'd been there for a couple months trying to fight the case on my own, I'm on the phone with her, and she's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna get you out in a couple weeks." I'm like, "You sure?" You know, because there's dudes in here that are stuck, that they've been here 2, 3 years already and not going nowhere. She's like, "Nah, I got you." So I go tell the homies that's locked up, and I'm letting them know, you know, the homies in my pod. I said, "Shit, my lawyer says I'm about to be out in 2 or 3 weeks." Like, nah, that ain't happening. We've been here 2 years. We've been here 3 years, right? Like, man, I don't know. That's what my lawyer says. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna believe my lawyer, right? So about a week later, they called me out of the pod, and they called me out to take me into his room, and his two immigration agents. So they sit me down. You know, they ask me my name, my background, and all that stuff. And they're like, "Well, how come you guys didn't tell us? How come you didn't tell us you're a citizen?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? I've been screaming I'm a citizen. You know, you think I want to be here in immigration?" Like, well, right here in the report, it says you escaped from Cambodia. It didn't have nothing about me being a refugee, you know, because between 75 and 79, if anybody know the history of Cambodia, Pol Pot, I took over the country. You know, I think there's been movies made about it called The Killing Fields. So he took over the country between 75 and 79. And at the time when he took over the country, he emptied out the whole city, all of Cambodia, emptied out the city and put them out in the fields, set up little freaking, you know, prison camps and slave camps, and had everybody growing rice. But, you know, everybody's growing rice, but everybody's starving, right? We had about 6.5 million Cambodians at the time. He killed off almost a third of them, 2.3 million people. You know, you visit Cambodia now, I'm sure you can go to places where there's still skulls filled up to the brim of whales that they dug up. There's body littered throughout the country, right? And I was born in one of those slave camps. I was born in 1977, and we escaped from the camp to a refugee in Thailand, to a refugee camp in Thailand. From Thailand, they flew us to a camp in the Philippines, and from the Philippines, we got sponsored to America in '84. So I'm a refugee, but in the report that the immigration people wrote up, they said that I escaped from Cambodia. I have no family here in America, and I've been supporting myself by running around with a gang, right? So I'm listening to these two immigration agents tell me this, and I'm like, where the fuck would you guys get this information from? I mean, you know, when you get arrested, as far as the federal system goes, because that's the only system I'm familiar with. I've never been to the state prison. You know, I've been in the county jail and all that, but they have a thing called PSI, pre-sentencing report, which is, you know, the appointed agent. They come and interview you. They do the background, your family background, your criminal history, and everything. And in that file, it has my home address. In that file, it has the name of my parents. It has the name of my siblings. It has, records of when I came to America, where I've lived, and all the rest of it, all your background, you know. So I'm looking at these two agents. I'm like, hey, man, all you had to do was look at my PSI. As you can see, I'm not some type of no escapee from Cambodia, that I'm not out here without family. My family lives in West Valley. I got the address right here, right? He's like, okay, whatever. So He takes down the notes and the information that I give him, and I go back to my pod. Prior to this, I was going to court to the immigration judge, and my first hearing, the judge reading off my case and the reason I'm going to be deported and all that, and I'm telling the judge, I was like, hey, Your Honor, I'm a U.S. citizen, and he's like, well, do you have record of this? I said, yeah, I do. He goes, well, can you send in the records? I said, can I have my family send me a photocopy of the records and this and that? He's like, no, we can't accept any photocopies. We need the original documents, right? So after the court, I get on the phone, I call my mom, I say, hey, Mom, can you send me my permanent resident card, my social security card, and whatever other documents that I have that prove that I'm a legal resident here in United States of America. So I said, I need the original copy. So she puts it all together and sends it to me in the mail. About 4 days later, I get it in the mail, and a couple of days later, I have another court hearing. So they take us into the courtroom, and it's all immigration cases. The Mexicans that come through, there's really not much to dispute. They come in there, the next day, they're on a bus back to Mexico. The longest any one of them has stayed that's from across the border is maybe like 2 weeks, right? But they're in and out. But the Asians, the Africans, and the Russians, because there was Russians in there too, they were stuck. They were stuck there when I left, they were still in there, right? So on this day of court, my name gets called, and the judge's like, well, Mr. Rick, do you have, I got the manila envelope under my arm, right? And I'm paying attention to all the proceedings, because I'm just, like I said, I'm evaluating my situation. I'm trying to calculate, what's my best move and this and that. And when my name was called, the judge was like, well, do you have documents and stuff to prove that you're a U.S. citizen? So I'm looking at the judge. I have the documents in my hand. It's in a manila envelope. But, something in my head was like, hey, if I give this to them, these are the original documents, they might keep that shit and erase me from the U.S. records, right? Because I don't know anything. I'm just a kid. I'm 20 years old at this time. And I'm like, I want to get the fuck out of immigration, but I'm not sure if this is the right move. So I tell the judge, no, I don't have anything, Your Honor. I'm still waiting for my family to send it. But like I said, I got it under my arm right here. So when I tell them, hey, I don't have it, I think, I'm waiting for the mail from my parents to send it, this and that. So they postponed they postponed my court hearing for another time. So when I came back after that court hearing, I put everything back in a new envelope, put some stamps on it, put it back right in the mail right back to my family. I called my mom. I said, hey, I got that stuff coming back to you. Keep it. She's like, what happened? I was like, well, I didn't want to give it to the judge or my lawyer or the prosecutor. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what they're going to do with it. I'm in uncharted territory. I don't know what's going on. And I really don't want to just screw myself over and get deported to Cambodia. I was born in Cambodia, but I don't know anything about Cambodia. You know what I mean? And from the stories that I hear, the life, the quality of life out there as opposed to here, if you ain't got no money, man, you screwed, right? So I mailed that stuff back to my mom, and that's when I got a hold of my dad. I was like, hey, man, I need an attorney. So 3 weeks later, the immigration people come and interview me. So after I leave the interview with the immigration, I come back and tell the homies, like, man, yeah, the people was trying to tell me I'm an escape refugee, I'm an escapee from Cambodia, run around here with a gang to try to support myself and all the rest of it. So I get on the phone. I get on the phone. I call my lawyer, Sharon Preston, let her know that I got interviewed by 2 immigration agents. It's like, okay, that's good. I think you'll be out in a week. So, you know, I'm hopeful, right? I'm not sure what to believe, but I'm hopeful. And a week came, and they called my name. They called Rick, come up to the intercom. So I come up, in the unit, you got a little mic, a little intercom. You push the button, you can talk to the bubble outside the unit. And they're like, hey, man, pack your stuff up. You're getting released. You don't realize that you've been holding your breath until the moment you exhale. And I can feel my whole body shaking. Because, this is the first time I ever been locked up. When you're locked up, it's like you're stuck in a twilight zone. Even though, you only got 28 months like I did on my first bid, every day seemed like forever. And every time you get moved around, put in a different jail, go through booking, your reality is distorted. Because part of you, because, every time you go into your door, they lock it. Boom. You hear it. Kang, ching, click, click, click. And like, that's it. You're locked inside this freaking building. You know? And nothing's ever promised to you, especially when you're in those type of environment, because I've seen so many times, people come through that never made it back out. So for me, at that time, it was surreal, right? So I get off the intercom, I tell the homie, I was like, shit, they say I'm getting released. Like, well, what the fuck? How you do that? My lawyer says I'm a citizen. I told you, I've been crying, I've been screaming I'm a citizen. So I go back to my bunk, and all the homies run over there. Oh, let me get this, let me get that. I was like, listen, man, it's all yours. I don't want nothing, right? All I want to put on a pair of socks. And I grabbed a pair of socks, I put it on, like I was shaking so bad. When I pulled up my sock, I ripped the whole top of the sock all the way up to my knee, right? I was like, oh shit, fuck it, tore it off, put the other one on, put my shoes on. They're like, hey, Mason, can I? I was like, man, I don't care. All that, you guys can have it. All I took was the shit that I was wearing and my paperwork, and I was out that door, right? So they let me out. They just opened the gate. I'm in Aurora, Colorado. I step out of the jail. Never been in Colorado my life. The only place I've been in Colorado before then was Florence, and that was inside the prison. So I come out. My heart's beating fast. And the only thing in my head was to get as far from the jail as possible, just in case these motherfuckers run out and be like, oh, we made a mistake, you need to come back. So, but like I said, I've never been in Aurora, I've never been in Colorado. So I look down the street, and somehow the street just seems so long, right? And I'm like, fuck it. So I just start jogging down the street. I'm trying to get away from that jail as fast as I can. I'm not sprinting, but I'm definitely not taking a freaking stroll, you know. So I jog, half walk, half jog, all the way to the end of the street. I ain't got no money. I think I got like 25 cents on my book. They cut me a fucking check. for 25 cents, right? 'Cause I think that's all I had left after my last order of commissary. And so I'm like, all right, they cut me a check for 25 cents. So I'm there. I look down. I get to the intersection or the end of the road. I look to my left. I look to my right. And on my right is nothing but trees. It's another long road and there's nothing but trees. And to my left, I saw a Taco Bell, right? I'm like, fuck it. We can get to a Taco Bell. So I made my way to the Taco Bell. I get on the phone, make a collect call to my attorney. He's like, where you at? I said, man, I'm out in Aurora. He goes, okay, what's the street sign? This and that. So I go to the corner, give her the street sign, the address, and all of that. And she's like, I got somebody coming to pick you up. So, long story short, some guy comes that was a friend of my attorney, comes and picks me up. But he's supposed to take me to the Aurora bus station, but he got confused. There was mixed signal. He ended up taking me to Denver bus station, which is a bigger bus station. And you know, my ticket says, I'm not looking at the where we're leaving from, but my ticket says like 5 o'clock that evening or something, right? So I'm waiting. 5 o'clock comes. They never call my bus. So I'm like, what the hell, right? So finally, I go up to the front desk. I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to be on a bus at 5 o'clock. They look the ticket over. They're like, oh, this is Aurora bus station. I'm like, what? So got back on the phone, called my attorney and said, hey, man, your friend dropped me off in Denver instead of the Aurora. They're not accepting this ticket, this and that. So she ended up buying me another ticket. And I was finally able to get on the bus about 10 o'clock that evening. Got on the bus and headed back to Utah. You know, you'd think, after going through all that, I would be like, damn, man, I'm never going to put myself in that situation again, right? But when I came home in 98, there was a lot of stuff going on out here. We were like at the height of our war, and I've been anxious to get into it because, the whole time I was locked up for that short period of time, every time I call home, I'm hearing stuff that, is getting under my skin, that is making me angry, and all the rest. So when I came home, I forgot how miserable being in prison was and got right back to it. And I know I deviated a little bit from what I was going to tell you today, but I just want to set it up, right? So tomorrow, not tomorrow, but today's Friday. I hope you guys all have a good weekend. But come Monday morning, I'm gonna take you through some of the stuff that got me caught up, man. And again, this is my life story. Everything I tell you, you can fact check it with the people that know me out here, with the homies that watch my YouTube and all this stuff. And like I say, man, I sitting up here exaggerating or fabricating or just making shit up, man, call me out on it. But the life that I live is, you know, it's crazy enough that I don't need to add anything else to it. But again, I always share these stories not to glorify some of the things that I've done, but just to let you know the things that I've been through and to really showcase my evolution. I really do feel like maybe some of my stories that I share would help prevent some of these youngsters out here from doing things that they do, because at the end of the day, I didn't learn my lesson, and I went back. And the time I went back, they laid me down. I almost didn't make it back. Life is short, man, and life is precious. Freedom is great. So, you know, enjoy it. Do the things you need to do to make it. It's not easy. I'm learning firsthand that life out here is not easy by any means. But if you keep chugging away, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and stay the course, you're gonna eventually get to where you want to go. I know some roads are a little harder than others, and sometimes it's a little slower than you like for it to be, but it's worth it, man. It's worth it being to wake up at 11 o'clock at night and walk out your door and go down to a gas station and buy yourself an ice cream. You know, so I know I always forget to ask you guys to like the video, share the video, help me get up to subscribers. Everything I'm doing out here is just me and a few, and I'm just trying to figure some things out. I got some ideas in the work. I know I keep saying that, but it's in the works. I have a bunch of content, with my tattoo shop and the things that I've been doing. I just got to figure out how to put it in a way where it's entertaining to you guys and it's a cohesive story. But until then, everybody have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Welcome to the USP.